Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, agents. I am Matty Carl, and this is a Let's Talk right here on The Division. Today, we are going to cover some aspects of PvP and what that actually might mean. Plus, we're going to break out our design book and start designing some actual PvP experiences that players in the game might actually be excited and interested in playing. So, let's go ahead and get going. Alright agents, so from the very beginning since the Division launched, PvP has been the biggest issue, especially in the neighborhood of rogues and people either not liking rogues or people being rogues and not liking the other aspect of it. Let's go ahead and talk about PvP and why this impacts the Darkzone. Now, a lot of people think that PvP is simply player versus player killing each other. This is just a small part of what PvP is and what PvP means, but because it seems to be the only type of PvP that most people can think of, most games implement, it is often described as the PvP experience. Well, there are other types of PvP that don't involve killing or griefing other players, and we're going to break out our design book and start looking at other PvP experiences that can actually bring some depth and breadth of skill to the Division and the Underground, in fact. Now, this game will never be a competitive style game for the most part because it relies too much on luck to actually have good gear, but it could be competitive in the sense of team play. The first PvP experience we're going to go ahead and look at is team versus team. Now, we can bring this style into the Underground's dungeons or do a simple closed session PvP experience in the Darkzone. For the Underground sessions, you would need to queue up and your team would then be dropped into the dungeon, which pits you against another team for a team versus team experience to see who can finish an objective first. The last room of the mission would obviously be the main objective, and players, as they went through their portions of the dungeon, could trigger traps that would momentarily force the other team to solve a puzzle or fight enemies to delay them, making it so that one team can get to the objective sooner. And these traps would be, very reminiscent of what's already in the game, but it would just cause a delay, or, you could close a door or something like that and make it so that you have to find a switch, something that would cause a time delay and make it a little bit more competitive. Now, it would momentarily force you to basically be there. So let's move on from that. But the team that wins would get a better loot system or get a better loot score, and the team that lost would get a lesser loot package, but both teams would be rewarded, and it would have, there would be multiple objectives. This would fit right into the story of the Underground, as you would see like an Alpha and Bravo team sent on a mission in the Underground. Paul Rhodes wants to ensure that the missions get done, and so he sends the backup team, and each team would serve to back up the other team. Now, with this game mode, there would be multiple paths, multiple traps, various other elements that would be challenging for the players at various skill levels. Now, directives could be built in, like purchasing a trap, deterrence, specialized traps, and various other ways that would delay the other team. The main focus would be that you wouldn't be PvPing so much as you would be trying to get the objective at the end of the level first. Now, once one team gets to the objective, a door would close, trapping them out, making sure that the other team wouldn't be able to get in. Now, it could be something as simple as once the first person, or you would need your entire team to reach the boss to prevent a lot of teams just running through these things and doing that. But that would be the objective, and then the door would close on the other team and they would only have one path out, and the other team would have free reign of the objective, or both doors would be open, and the team that killed the objective or found the objective or did something to that effect, a team door would open up for them, and that would be the exit for them. The other team would go through another exit, and there would be separate rewards for doing that. So that would be one way of going ahead and making a team versus team objective style PvP, where there was no, killing each other. I mean, you could probably add in some sort of PvP experience where you kill each other or something like that, but that's not the purpose of this. This is the purpose of this main issue, or this main objective, is to go ahead and finish before the other team and get better rewards than the other team just for doing better at that PvP experience. In the same light, moving this style of play to the Darkzone would actually work better. Two teams being dropped into the Darkzone with an objective to find a package, kill an HVT, rescue a JTF member, find pieces of intel, or even just rescue a civilian who had been captured by the enemy team. These Dark Zone ops, as I call them, would pit Alpha and Bravo team against each other, or for even higher rewards, adding in a Charlie and Delta team that would be able to add a much more competitive play, pitting 4 teams against each other. Now, teams would be dropped off in different areas that would be ideal for the most coverage away from each other, but the target location would be random. Teams would need to sweep buildings and look for different locations of the target within a certain amount of time. Once a target was found, the team who found it would be marked on the map and as calling it in. So you would call it in that the target was located and relay the mission coordinates, as you will. The other teams would then be notified and have the team marked on the map. The team finding the target or package would then need to eliminate the hostiles and extract the target that they were after. Now, they would eliminate the hostiles and pick up the whatever it was, whether it was intel or the hostage or whatever, and have to extract them. Team B, C, and D would then have 2 choices. They would either accept that Team A found the target and choose to help them extract for a minor reward, 240 pieces or a 204 weapon, something like that, or they could choose to eliminate Team A going rogue and extract the target for the top reward of the mission for themselves. If they chose to go rogue, they would need to hunt down Team A and get the intel from them. If they failed and Team A was able to extract the target, they would then not get any reward. If they chose to help, Team B would then get a secondary reward such as a 240 gear set or a 204 weapon, while the extraction team would get 268 gear and a 229 weapon for completing the mission. If Team B, C, or D goes rogue and eliminates Team A, the team that eliminated the Team A would get the higher target intel for themselves, and Team A would then be rewarded with a minor bonus for just finding the target intel itself. So I know it's kind of confusing, but basically it works out that you would go rogue and get top tier rewards for killing Team A, and Team A would get the higher rewards for getting the intel extracted out, and it would be a risk reward type thing, as it's very similar now. Extractions would work similar to the current method, but once the target was found, the teams not finding the target would at that point have to choose to go rogue or choose to help. You wouldn't have a time frame where you ran up to him and shot him. You would either choose to go rogue or choose to help, making the choice as to what you were going to do. Now, each team would be able to choose this, so you could potentially have a 1v12 or 4v12, you would have a 8v8, you could have a 12v4, something to that effect. But once rogue, you would then appear as rogues on the map, while the teams not rogue would not show up. So you wouldn't know where they were. All you would have is that minor target location when they found the target to know the kind of exact area that it would be in. And the extraction wouldn't show up on your map either. You would just kind of have a idea as to where it was based on helicopter sounds and whatnot. You would not have the option of going rogue once you chose to do the help. Within the 4-team setup, this could be a dilemma of working with another team or helping find the team, secure the loot, and defending them against rogues to share in the reward. This is by far my favorite idea for creating a competitive PvP arena that isn't a free roam shootout and still brings in the play style that the DZ was meant to be. Now, this mode would allow teams to buy equipment to help them out on both sides. Being able to buy a scanner that helps you find non-rogue agents as well as other intel and goodies scattered throughout the DZ area, buying a GPS locator so that the extraction helicopter would get to the extraction point sooner and cut extraction times down, and even a radio jammer that could be used to jam GPS signal and radio signals, making the extraction harder to see on the map for somebody trying to extract something. Now, these are all very cool ideas set up, and we would also have enemies placed in strategic choke points. Sorry, that's a little tongue twister there. That would make it so that teams would need to fight through these enemies to get the intel as well and get the intel out. Enemy toughness would vary based on the difficulty of the mission, whether it's hard or challenging or heroic. If the agents die in combat, they're respawned at the checkpoint or safe house closest to where they died after a short timer. There's a lot of room for this idea to be fleshed out, and I can see it being used as in a DZ7 type area, like if they made Central Park and the few blocks surrounding it available. This mode would actually get me super excited about the PvP gameplay and make it much more robust than it is. And I just, the way it is now, people just don't like going in there and killing players for their loot. It's just, you know, you don't get it. You know, people don't like to lose loot, they don't like to lose experience and stuff like that. This would be a very cool alternative to that style of play. My final game type for PvP would be a metagame, which would pit teams against agent, against agent, against agent, and other co-op competitive situations where players would score points for kills, support, and other factors while playing various game modes. As you move through the level, players earn points, and when the final objective is completed, agents get a score, and the reward in the final chest, or even if the mission reward, would be based on what place they finished in the points. So first place, second place, third place, fourth place, you would get a reward based on that. So maybe the first place gets a 268 gear set piece, second place gets 229 weapon, third place gets 240, last place gets 214, so on and so forth. So your mission objectives and rewards would be based on your points at the end. And it would lend itself well to many of the existing game types like incursions, daily missions, underground ops. Points could be added up in a ranking system that would allow players to access new weapons, gear, outfits, and areas of the game that would need to be unlocked by gaining ranks in a competitive arena, much like some similar other games do, like that access social areas and stuff like that that you can go to that nobody else would have access to. So these are a few ideas I had, not anything overtly complicated, but something that would allow for this game to actually gain not just an additional balanced PvP mode, but bring in a more competitive edge to the game that would be allowed for esports and team building in the long run. Building on this, Massive could add PvP gear sets that would only be available to be acquired through these PvP game types. The perks would be specific in helping out in these game types as well, and really drive players to using different tactics and techniques when entering into a competitive combat environment. Anyways, that has been my time. Hopefully you found this video informative or helpful. If you did, drop a like on it, and let's get some visibility over to Massive and Ubisoft on some of these ideas to help flesh out a better PvP landscape. PvP isn't about killing players. That's what you've been led to believe over time as you see these competitive modes where you see like games like Overwatch, Destiny, where the only thing that you see when you mention PvP is player versus player killing each other. Now, player versus player has a whole connotation and a whole definition that isn't being used in games today. Player versus player, for the most part, for most people, is just killing another player. There's no competitiveness, there's no co-op, you know, it's really just a player versus player killing each other, and that's not really the point of player versus player. Player versus player is a competitive landscape, and right now, the way the Darkzone is, it's not competitive, and this game could be greatly competitive with some great ideas from the community. If you have some great ideas on how to make PvP better, please go ahead and put them in the comments. You might see your idea in a future video as I take a look at them and kind of flesh them out for ideas and stuff. So thanks again for watching, and please subscribe for news and notes from around the community on The Division. I am Mountie Carl with another Let's Talk on The Division, and hopefully we'll see you again in the underground. Agent out.